The next problem we're going to have with a server is that of the bandwidth usage using Windows Update. At the moment, every client computer would attach via the internet to the Windows Update server, download the updates and install them independently. As well as consuming a lot of bandwidth, this can give you problems with various clients have different patches installed. So to cure this, we're going to install WSUS. But before we do that, one of the prerequisites is that we have the Microsoft Report Viewer redistributables installed on the machine. So the first thing we need to do is go to the Microsoft download site and download Microsoft Report Viewer 2008 redistributable. This is a very small 3 megabyte file, so it shouldn't take too long to download onto our machines. Now that I've got the file downloaded, installation is very simple. Just run the downloaded file, accept the license agreement and install the software. There we go. The next thing we need to do is bring up the server management console, and we're going to add the role for WSUS. So from the add role wizard, we'll do next. Then we'll choose the Windows Server Update Services, WSUS. The machine actually goes online and checks to see if there's an updated version of the service, which in our case there is. So it may take a few seconds to start the installation going. One of the other things you may notice is it pops up an independent wizard in the background. So what we have to do is keep an eye on the taskbar area for a flashing icon appearing. The other thing you can try doing is moving the installation wizard to minimized before you start the installation. But I'm just going to keep an eye on the screen. So it's now going online, searching for the updates, and this may take a few seconds again, so we'll wait and see what happens. It's now checked online and it started to install, and as you can see we have a flashing icon letting us know that something is happening in the background. So if we bring that to the front, there is the setup wizard. It's quite simple. It's the same as most of the wizards. We accept the license agreement and proceed onwards. It asks where we want to store the Windows Update files locally, and this can take quite a bit of space. So in the real world it might be a good idea to dedicate a large drive to these updates. On this lab machine we'll just use the default location. It also requires some form of database to be used. You can, if you have an SQL server running on this machine or on the network, attach to it using one of the two windows at the bottom here. But if you haven't, you can use the Windows internal database on the machine, and that's what we'll do. It also requires a web server to be running. We installed one earlier, so we can use an existing website. At that point it is worth keeping a note of the URL provided along with the port number, in our case just simply port 80. So now we can hit next and wait for the program to install. When it finishes installing, it will pop up the configuration wizard. If this doesn't happen, what you can do is launch Windows Server Update Services, go to the option and choose the configuration wizard. But we'll see what happens in this case. So it's finished installing. When I click the finish icon, I'm waiting for the wizard to pop up in the background. I'll even attempt to close some of these open windows while we're waiting. So I'll close this window and I'll close the Server Manager window. Then we'll wait to see if the WSUS configuration wizard appears, which it has done. So what we're going to do now is configure this machine to attach to Windows Update. Choose which updates we're going to allow the user to access, then we will configure it further once it's fully installed. So the first thing we need to do is start the wizard running. If you want to join the Windows Improvement Program, feel free to do so, but this is a lab environment, I won't bother. Choose where to get our Windows updates from. Well, as this is the first WSUS machine we've got, we have to use the Windows Update site. If we install any more on our network, we could input a local server name and port in the boxes provided here. Also, if you need to access a proxy server to access the internet, you need to let the machine know, along with any usernames and passwords required. I don't, so we can move on. Now the next waiting part. What we need to do is start the machine connecting to the internet. It will go to the Windows Update site and it will download a list of available products and languages available, along with the various types of updates available. Now I will warn you, this may take up to half an hour. In fact, sometimes I've seen it take almost an hour to do this list. You have to remember there are almost 500,000 updates on the Windows Update site, and we have to wait until the list is generated and downloaded to our machine. So I'm going to pause things and wait for that to happen. Now that the wizard has gone online and received all the details it requires, we can press the next button. We now need to choose the languages we're going to support. In our case, we're only going to choose English. On the next page, we choose what products we want to support. By default, WSUS chooses all versions of Windows and all versions of Office. As you can see, it is quite a lengthy list, and we're going to scroll down and only update Office 2007, so we can turn the rest off. And if we keep on going to the Windows section, we're only going to support Windows 7. This will cut down the number of updates we have to receive and make things slightly easier for ourselves. We now need to choose what class of updates we require. Microsoft gives you the security updates, definition updates and critical updates by default. And I would suggest as well you take the service packs. This means any new machines can be updated with a service pack, meaning you don't have to install 50 or 60 critical updates. The final step is to choose how often you want the machine to synchronize with Windows Update. So what we'll do is we'll synchronize automatically. We'll do one synchronization per day, and we'll update round about 9 AM. What Windows does is it chooses a random time plus or minus 30 minutes from the time, so anything between 8:30 and 9:30. Then we have the machine ready. It will now start doing an initial synchronization. This again can take quite a while, but we'll just leave it running and see what happens. So what we can do is we can hit finish, and it's now doing its initial synchronization. While it's doing that, we can open up WSUS utility and we'll have a look at what it looks like. So from within your admin tools, you're looking for Windows Server Update Services. Now the Update Services Manager is loaded. The first thing you need to do is go to All Computers in the Computers branch, and if you right click you can add a computer group. This computer group will be used to send the updates out to various machines. So let's just call this one Accounts, and we can add it. What will happen later on is when machines are added to the system, they will come up in the unassigned computers group. From there, they can be copied across to the groups that you want to allocate them to. By now, some updates should have been appeared. If we go to All Updates in the Update section, and we make sure it says Unapproved and Any, we get a list of all the updates that are available. You can see, even in this short time, it has downloaded 40 updates. What the admin person needs to do is work their way down these lists, testing the patches on trial machines. Once you've found one that you know is needed and doesn't cause any problems, and we'll pick Microsoft Excel update here, you can right click on it and approve it. This means it will now be available for download by your clients. But what you need to do is assign it to the correct group. So in our case, we're going to choose the Accounts department, and we're going to approve it for installation. And there it is. We can click OK. The machine will go and start downloading that update and make it available for the machines. You need to pop back on a regular basis, because remember, it is checking with Windows Update on a daily basis, and you need to update and add any updates as they come along. However, we need to do a bit of configuration before it's available to the clients, and this will be covered in the next video that I produce.